Good day kaninyong tanan, no? So, let me start my presentation again with a quick question. So, have you ever tried or ever listened to a radio program and thought, ang galing naman magsalita ng announcer? But have you ever wondered, how do they keep their thoughts so organized and precise on air? So how do they manage to sound spontaneous, yet still deliver accurate and well-structured information? So let's find out. So hello again from Cagayan de Oro to wherever in the world you may be watching this presentation. I am Marian Rose Esbacod from Section C of DEVCOM 206, and I will be sharing the SAQ or self-assessment questions for our topic, writing for radio. So now, when we think about radio, we often picture lively voices, or background music, or catchy jingles. But behind every successful broadcast is always one thing. Let's always remember this. It is a well-written script. So it is that silent guide that keeps the announcer on track, and it ensures the message is clear, and it helps the entire team rather stay in sync. So para naman may recap tayo, no, just to recall, my group mates previously discussed three major topics, namely, what is radio script, the types of radio script, and the script format. So let us go over them briefly, no? So a radio script is basically the written plan that guides a program. Para siyang mapa ng announcer that it tells them what to say, when to say it, and how to say it. Without a clear script, no, kahit gaano pa kagaling ang announcer, he or she might lose timing or forget important details on air. So that's for radio script. Next is we have types of radio scripts, like news scripts, interview scripts, and public service announcements or PSAs. So each one has its own goal. Ang news scripts ay diretso and factual. Interview scripts help keep the questions natural and flowing, while PSAs, on the other hand, are meant to inform or persuade the public in a short but impactful way. And then there is script format. So this includes the station box, the program details, the cues for music and sound effects, and instructions for announcers and talents. So medyo technical siya sa una, no? Pero once you understand it, mas madali at mas organized na ang buong radio production, lalo na kapag live. Now, for my part, the self-assessment questions or SAQ, ito naman ang portion kung saan natin tinitest, kung gaano natin naintindihan at na-apply yung mga natutunan natin from the previous discussion. So it's not just about memorizing terms, no, but it is more about reflecting it. How can I apply if I were the one writing or performing this on air? So as I go through each question later, try to imagine yourselves as script writers or announcers. So think about these small details like spacing, capitalization, and clarity, and can actually make or break a broadcast. So, what is an SAQ and why it matters? So, SAQ technically stands for self-assessment question. So, these are meant to check how much we've internalized or understand the key concepts or the elements of the topics that was previously discussed by our group, that by my group mate. So it's not just about memorizing the parts of a radio script, but it is also about understanding why each part is important for clarity, accuracy, and of course, timing in radio communication. So kumbaga, through the SAQ, we don't just review what we have learned, no? We reflect on how those lessons apply in real life broadcasting. Kasi sa radio, no, every small detail counts. Even the spacing, capitalization, or the way you format your cues can affect how your message sounds on air. So right now, I'll be sharing a set of questions that will help us assess that what we have learned from the previous discussion in this module on writing for radio. So as I go through each question, I will be giving you 5 seconds to try to reflect not just on the format itself, but on how you would apply these principles if you were the one writing or producing a radio program. So first question, why can't we hyphenate a word at the end of the line? So, we avoid hyphenating a word at the end of the line to prevent breaking the word and incorrectly. So doing so might cause mispronunciation or confusion for the announcer reading the script on air. So have you ever read something aloud and paused because a word was cut off at the end of the line? So nakakabitin 'di ba when we try reading it. So in radio, that's a big no-no. Remember, the announcer only relies on what's written. So if the word is cut, it could sound awkward or even wrong when spoken. Kaya dapat buo lagi ang words sa isang line to make sure the announcer reads it smoothly and of course confidently on air. So SAQ number 2, next. What line spacing should be followed when writing your scripts? Okay, scripts should always be double space. Always remember that, no? Bakit nga ba double space always ang script? Because of course, announcers often make notes, underline words to emphasize, and of course, add last-minute reminders while reading it on air. So imagine if the lines are too close together. So di ba ang hirap basahin? Tapos nagmamadali pa yung announcer, tapos may notes pa. So it can cause confusion or miscues. So remember this, no? A neat double-space script doesn't just look organized. It helps the announcer read clearly and of course deliver smoothly on air. So in short, the easier it is to read, the better the delivery will sound to the listeners. Third, why do you have to staple the pages of your script at the bottom left corner? Now, this one might surprise you now about the question on stapling. So why do we staple our scripts at the bottom left corner? So some might say, no, as long as stapled, okay na yun. But actually, there's a reason for that. So when you staple your script at the bottom left corner, it keeps the pages in order. And of course, it prevents that crinkling or flipping noise that the microphone might pick up when the announcer turns the pages. So imagine you're reading live on air. Then may tunog yung papel. Of course, diba, it's very distracting. Tapos yung mic natin nakaka-pick up pa ng even the smallest details of the sound that we make sound. So yes, no, even stapling has its own broadcasting magic or logic. So minsan, it's the small details that make a big difference in the clarity of your program. Lastly, what items on your script should be capitalized? So now, in radio scripts, hindi lahat ng nakasulat ay binabasa on air. So some lines are actually directions or cues for the announcer or the production team. So to make this clear, no, we capitalize instructions like the character names, sound effects, and music cues. Why? Because capitalizing them helps distinguish instructions from spoken dialogue, which makes the script easier to follow during live reading. So by capitalizing these parts, mas madali para sa announcer na ma-distinguish kung alin ang babasahin at alin ang instruction lang. So that way, the broadcast flows smoothly and professionally even during live reading. So remember, no, capitalization isn't just about grammar, it's about clarity and of course coordination during the actual performance. So, if we recall on all this writing for radio, isn't just about putting words on paper, but it's mostly about planning with purpose, writing with clarity, and working with others to bring a program to life. So kung iisipin natin, di ba, bawat maliit na detalye mula sa spacing, capitalization, hanggang cues, may dahilan kung bakit mahalaga. So these elements remind us that even the technical side of scripting plays a huge role in making every broadcast sound smooth and of course professional. So in short, no, scripting is the backbone of every successful radio program. It is where content, timing, and of course creativity come together to create something listeners can hear, feel, and of course remember. So because in radio, no, what you write is what your audience hears. Kaya dapat bawat salita, bawat pahina, at bawat cue, klaro, maayos, at may puso. So to end, let me throw one last question. No? If you were to write your own short radio blog, what would you prioritize more? The content, the timing, or the delivery? And with that, no, we've seen how even the smallest details in radio script, like spacing, capitalization, all play a big role in creating a clear and engaging broadcast. So because in radio, what you write is what your audience hears. Kung ano ang isinulat mo, yun ang maririnig nila. So again, a well-written script doesn't just guide the announcer. It brings life, rhythm, and meaning to every word on air. So always remember, no, behind every smooth broadcast is a thoughtful writer who planned every detail. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope this inspires you to write with purpose, clarity, and heart.